Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support. Let's get into it. So today we've got a big one. We've got the Percy Jackson and the Olympians Disney Plus series review. This is really important to me because this is my favorite book series of all time. The Lightning Thief specifically is one of my favorite books ever, so I was really looking forward to it. And fortunately, I overwhelmingly loved it. So today we're going to have our review. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun. Leave your thoughts and comments below. What did you think about the show? What did you like about it? What didn't you like so much about it? I'm also going to issue a spoiler alert. I will be talking about, obviously, events and talking about the show, but I also may mention things about the book or the books. So if you don't want any of that spoiled, make sure you just save this video and come back for it later. Without further ado, let's get into it. So before I just start gushing like I tend to do, I'm going to kind of go over some of my maybe nitpicks with the show. I would have done anything for these episodes to be longer. I mean, dear God, would it kill Disney to make our episodes? It might kill them. This plagues their shows consistently. Across the board, all their Disney Plus original series, for the most part, are plagued by not having long enough episodes. I'm sorry, there is no reason for you to have a 35-minute episode in this series. And I understand the book's not very long, and it's not like a super dense book that you need a lot of that like you need so much more time for, but like there is no reason to have 35 40-minute episodes. 45 minutes at the lowest, because that's what we need. Like, you are adapting a book. These have to be longer episodes than that. That's like kind of my biggest gripe, honestly. My other kind of gripe is that the pacing is kind of all over the place. But if you've read The Lightning Thief, you know the pacing of that book is kind of all over the place too. So because of how great of an adaptation this is, it kind of falls into that trap, that pacing trap as well. And so yeah. Those are kind of like my two biggest nitpicks, are just kind of episode length. I feel like 8 was a good amount of episodes. I really feel like that was good. But they did need to be longer. And then the pacing is kind of like all over the place. Like they're like they're kind of rickety and all over the place. But that's okay. You know what? Those are just like those definitely are flaws of the show. But dear God, I loved it. I absolutely adore this show. I really do. I really do. Like, it meant so much to me to see this be adapted in the way that it was. Especially because the only other adaptation we have are the 2 Logan Lerman movies, which I think the first movie is a good movie, is a horrific adaptation. And then Sea of Monsters is a bad movie and a horrific adaptation. So they just completely pissed down their own legs in that one. But to see it so accurately depicted and so that's beautifully done, really, it was so much fun. And I think having the author Rick Riordan like there and like making every single decision obviously helped that go a long way. I mean, it was so cool to see him execute his vision of what he wanted for the silver screen adaptation of his books, of his life's work, and I think that you can really tell how much care and time and effort went into making this world and all of the things. I mean, you can just see how much care and detail there and love is in this show. Like, everyone just seems like they're having such a fun time, and the cast gives an incredible performance. Walker Schobel, Leah, Arion, I think that's how you say his name, that plays Grover. They knock it out of the park. They so perfectly encapsulate what these characters are supposed to be. Percy's snarkiness, his sassiness, his loyalty, his stubbornness, his grit. Walker Schobel does an incredible job capturing all of that. Leah does a great job with Annabelle's smarts and wits and strong demeanor. Does an incredible job. And then the person that plays Grover, the actor, also does great. They really give an awe-inspired performance, and everyone in the cast does. Like the woman that plays Sally, Virginia, I think is her first name. I don't know her last name. The rest of that played Ares, probably outside of like the main trio, probably my favorite performance in the whole show. He did such a good job capturing Ares' like arrogance and bullishness and prickliness. Really just out of the park. I mean, everyone just knocked it out of the park. I mean, just absolutely smashed it. I think also another compliment I have to give the show are the changes added a lot of nuance. So much nuance to the show. Because the show isn't told from Percy's perspective, you can be a little more creative, and maybe explore some different things. Like, for example, in the book when they run into Medusa, it's like, oh my god, Medusa's so scary, she's so this. It's because this is Percy's 12-year-old mind, and he doesn't have any idea what's going on. He has not a clue in the world what's going on right now, But in the series, Medusa gets so much more depth because she talks about being a survivor, talks about her relationship with Poseidon and Athena, and she's like, Annabeth, I know who you are because you and I are the same person, or like whatever the line is. You wouldn't have been able to explore that from a 12-year-old's inside the head of a 12-year-old boy. You wouldn't have been able to explore that, but that is such a fundamental part of Medusa's character, her entanglements with Poseidon and Athena's wrath and all that's come from that. We miss that, but now, you get to see so much more nuance from that. And she's so much layered and deeper than she was initially. And I think the changes across the board do that. I'm trying to... like, whenever Percy goes and returns the Master Bolt, like, that's not a one-on-one with Zeus in the book. But Percy rolls up on Zeus in his house in a one-on-one conversation, not fight, but in a one-on-one conversation, and just rolls up there. And the tension is like, it's piercing through you. And then whenever Poseidon steps in to save Percy and then like surrenders, I think I was a little concerned whenever they had missed the solstice, because I was like, man, like that's not good. But it came back in the end and gave us a moment and gave us a really impactful moment with Poseidon and Percy, where he surrenders to save Percy. He surrenders the war against Zeus to save Percy. And that's such... I really like the way the show is approaching Poseidon and Percy's relationship. I'm intrigued to see what might happen, because a big part of... I just hope that like this doesn't diminish Percy's need or want to change the way the gods approach parenthood. Just because like him and Poseidon's relationship is not the best in the book, and it's better like already. Like I can tell you, it's much better already, in this show. And so I hope that doesn't like diminish if we even like get all 5 adaptations, and I'm sure it won't. But I think it's like I think it, in the long run, might give Percy more faith in the gods that they can change. Because it's like he tells Luke in the finale where he's like, sure they have their flaws, but they're still good parents, And I think he will hold on to that sentiment. I think it will go a long way in propelling him to want to make the change because he believes in them, So I think that's a really interesting potential dichotomy. Um, let's see what else. What else did I love? Oh my god, the special effects. Everything looks great in this show. All of the monsters, Mount Olympus looked great. All the environments they're in look absolutely wonderful and beautiful and fantastic. I heard some people complain about like they're kind of like info dumping you, but like that's what happens in the like in the book too. Like Percy doesn't know what's going on. Like Annabeth and Grover have to info dump on him all the time. So I don't really think that I didn't really find that to be an issue. Um what oh my gosh. The I was talking to my friend that I've been watching the show with. The fact that they accused Clarice of being the lightning thief, I think is going to, if we get more adaptations going forward, is going to add so much tension and so much more of a redemptive factor down the line with Clarice. Like, especially if they do end up adapting all five, like they have to go with Clarice in the Sea of Monsters. Like, and Clarice already didn't like Percy in the book, but now they accused her of being the lightning thief. Oh, honey, that's not just like it ain't gonna be sweet out here. That's gonna add so much more tension. And I think that was so smart. It was so forward thinking. That was another change I really liked. Um, them getting the four pearls, that I was concerned about that, but that ended up being fine because they lost the one, so then it was fine. Then they had to like do it anyways. Um, oh, and Luke, the finale. Percy was so hurt. He was so hurt and he was so broken. And that moment in the book, and I don't remember if they like actually fought in the book, but the fact that they like fought and Luke pulls out back bitter and it's just as cool as I wanted it to be. And they actually have a fight, and Percy uses some of the moves that Luke taught him, which makes the betrayal even deeper. And then Annabeth is right there too. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, so good. So good. Um, I'm intrigued to where this new backbitter power is coming from, the one to like open portals. I don't remember it being able to do that, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah, Luke, I think with his limited screen time, they really did a lot with him. I honestly think Luke could have benefited the most from longer episodes. Definitely. Him and Chiron, I think, would have benefited greatly from longer episodes. Just like flesh them out a little bit more. Um, but they do a lot with Luke and his very limited screen time. Especially because they can do like the flashbacks and it makes more sense, to do that. So I loved Luke. I loved Carice. I loved, all of the demigods in the show. Everyone did great. The casting for all the Olympians so far has been great. Luce Riddick as Zeus, rip, did a great job of being very imposing. I don't know the actor's name, but him playing Mr. D, so funny and so good. Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous, but he did good. He did good. Um, yeah, and everything. Hades was definitely a different depiction of him because in the book, Percy talks about how he is like the most godlike one that he runs into. Um, and I really didn't get as much of that imposingness from him. Um, but I think that might like end up working in the long run. Because I think Rick honestly does a really good job in the books of because typically Hades is just like portrayed as the villain, and he certainly falls and certainly is like has all the faults of the other Olympians as well. But I think in the book he easily depicts him as like out of the big three who is like arguably the most morally sound. I mean he didn't break the pact. Um, he's like not totally not helpful in the books, like especially whenever Nico comes along, like that's when he's like really like helpful, which is really great because I love Nico and I hope we get to see him soon. But um but yeah, I really liked Hades. A different maybe depiction of what I was thinking, but I still really liked him. But just overall, they crushed it. They crushed it. They Every part they kept the same was done so well. The changes they made only made the story better. The show looks great. The actors, having age appropriate actors, I think did this show wonders. Like the fact that Walker and Leah and Ariana are all 13, 12, 13, I think is incredible. And I really hope that they keep the schedule up so then they will stay age, accurate. Um, but man, I just loved it. Sorry, that was kind of rambling, but overall, the show, while it has some flaws, is a wonderful adaptation of the spirit and essence of the first Percy Jackson and Olympians book. The cast gives inspired performance, the special effects were top tier, and the subtle changes went a long way in adding more nuance to the story. Hopefully, this is just the beginning of bringing my all-time favorite series to the screen, rating 9 out of 10, PJO on top. But thank you guys for watching today's video. I always appreciate support. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and check out the link content. Have a great day.